Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. This week's podcast episode, we look at standards part 2. Briefly, we are going to look at and review what we spoke about last week and then dive into standards and how to create and craft your own. How do you know what standards you currently have? 1, look at your behaviors, your beliefs, your values and priorities that you currently have that determine your daily habits and routine. Those behaviors and beliefs will literally dictate everything. Number 2, identify the story that you're currently telling yourself or that you have that plays a factor in the behaviors and beliefs and values and priorities that you already have in your life. And number 3, what are you putting up with or tolerating in your life? Now, seeing the answers to these questions will help you to see your current set of personal standards. When you look at the areas to focus on in your life, when answering these questions, you can look at personal health and fitness, your internal and external environment. This includes your home and your friends. Look at your family and your relationships, your mindset and your emotions, your career or your business, and your time and money. Now, we also looked at creating a set of standards and how to start doing that. So one of the ways that you can start to do that is to create your dream vision for your life. And then knowing what standards you currently have in each of your areas. And then deciding what your higher standard is going to be in each area of your life. And then we also looked at knowing your why, what phase of life you're in, and your priorities. And then we also looked at creating rituals and routines to help you shift your standards. And that right there is huge. And so this week, we're going to look at a book that changed my life. And then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into how you can continue to create a new set of standards for your life so that you can start to have your dream life by default. The book that I'm talking about that changed my life, that educated me on standards, is called The 10-Second Philosophy by Derek Mills. I'm going to read to you a small section of this book. This is really going to illustrate how creating a set of standards can absolutely change your life. So Derek Mills starts this section by saying, "I faked it and I didn't make it." Quote, "When I was 21, I didn't set out thinking, I'll spend the next 20 years failing to meet my goals. Pretty much like everyone else, I set out looking for the good life. I worked on a self-employed, commission-only basis in the financial services industry. By my mid-20s, I married Jerry, and we had our first 2 children, Sebastian and Rochelle. This was a very tough period financially, and we struggled because business was poor, very poor. It was a boom and bust economy in which I was always behind the curve, out of sync, never actually booming, but feeling the busts full on. My after-tax earnings were spent just on paying bills. We were living from month to month. Many times the money ran out before the month's end, and twice I saved my house from foreclosure. In my 30s, things just got worse. I was still failing, and for a while I generated less new business income than I had years earlier. Our second and third daughters, Yasmin and Dominique, were born. More mouths to feed, albeit adorable ones. As the sole income generator, I was just keeping our heads above water. The stress was having a severe impact and effect on my health. I had pains and imaginary ailments and was always going to the doctor to be told that nothing was wrong. Mentally, it was tough. I didn't think I was depressed, but I was actually clinically unhappy. My financial services performance was so bad that I was near the bottom of the list of the company's 1,200 agents. Twice, I tried to leave the industry in an attempt to make a better life, but something inside me wouldn't let me make that leap. So I stayed unhappy. In those years, I was at the beck and call of some of my clients. They would call and I would go see them anytime, any place, anywhere. I gave great value, service, and above all, time to my clients over many, many years. But they generated very little income for me because most were low income themselves. I never got wealthy clients. Most would only see me at night, which was convenient for them, tough on me. Oh, and one more thing. I was lonely. One evening in November 2003, I was in the office just after 9:30 p.m. The building security guard popped his head around the door and asked me if I was ready to leave. I said I wasn't and needed 10 more minutes. After a while, the guard came back. I didn't speak, but without looking, I used my fingers to motion I needed 2 more minutes. Then he asked a rather innocuous question. "What time did you get in this morning?" 8 a.m., I answered. He looked at me for a moment before walking away, but the words hung in the air. I internalized his question and my response. Now I know why, because things were so bad that I was ready for that question. I realized at a deeper level than ever before that my life was shockingly poor in all areas because the life I was living wasn't really me. In those next 10 seconds, I looked introspectively. I felt a surge of feelings rise up inside me. I was rooted to the spot, yet completely relaxed and felt real balance. As I stood there, my emotions and energy weren't logical. I didn't have to think about them. I didn't construct them. They came through and to me pure. A pure, incredible knowing with a sense of calm certainty. Even then, I knew I was in a different place. So I stayed in that space and kept that moment. In those seconds, looking honestly and deeply within, I knew that if I was going to continue one more day on this planet, it would be on my terms. I would live the life that I wanted. I would be me and not what society, the industry, the media, the recession, my education, my history, and the wrong clients would have me be. I stood there and more was revealed. I always thought that the answers were outside of me. Yet, in that moment, I realized that my current life was intolerable and there was nowhere else to go but inside. In a moment of clarity, I was able to reassess my whole life incredibly quickly. In a moment of clarity, I was able to reassess my whole life incredibly quickly because the real me, my true self, was speaking to me. I paid attention and my life changed in that moment. In that moment, I found freedom. Standards of change, pure genius. The guidance that came from within me was to set new high daily standards for my life that were congruent with who I really was on the inside. I knew that with a certainty born of intuition that I would make a better life. While goals are future-based, standards are a now, today experience, and as such, change you immediately. As long as I could remember, when I used goals to achieve success, my life was a failure and caused me to be unhappy. Immediately, I knew I had to quit working with nearly all of my clients. Right then and there, I chose just 15 folders of clients who would suit the real me and I them. After 18 years in the logical left brain business world, I was listening to and following my intuition. I never called my other clients again and arranged to have someone else look after them. I also set a standard for my work hours. I would take my children to school every day and pick them up a few days a week. I wouldn't work late any night of the week. Weekends were for my family. And I'd no longer work on Fridays so I could spend that time with Jerry, my wife. I set standards for the quality of my clients. They must come to my office, be millionaires, and be genuinely nice people who suited me. I thought, This is my life after all, and I will choose who I spend it with, in and out of work. These are some of my initial standards, set as an outgrowth of a simple question. It's easy to set new standards when you accept what's making you unhappy and how you really want to be. When you allow your true self to come out and be in the world, you change. When you change, everything changes for you. Setting standards is a sure path to your inner genius, and this is where all your answers are for you. It's from here that you realize who you truly are. My life is now 180 degrees different and infinitely better because of paying attention and having faith in my moment. This new way took me to a place where I was able to be me, and with the result that I achieved things far beyond any of my original goals. All the pain I'd suffered was given new medicine, new healing, and enabled me to recenter the world new and improved, or you might say original and improved. It was this very practical approach that was a phenomenon to all who witnessed my rise, and brought this philosophy to life immediately in my everyday personal, business, and financial life. Living your life by daily standards, which are congruent with your true self, will bring you more happiness and success than ever before. In doing this, we kick away the wooden leg of excuses. He continues on, a new way of being. When I stood in my office that fateful evening, I had no idea of the extent of what was being revealed to me. I was at such a low point that I didn't appreciate the significance of what I would go through. In that moment of clarity, I had tapped into my true self because of a question. As I stood there, I knew I hit rock bottom, and my only choice was to follow the rabbit of new thoughts along the path. In that moment, I stood transfixed for only a few seconds, and I knew my old way of being just wasn't working. I knew that the answers lay in my being true to myself and allowing what came from my core to guide me. As I did this, I felt an overwhelming surge of knowledge and certainty. What came from within was my true self's voice, telling me to stop setting goals and instead set new and higher daily standards. A standard is a rule, a quality, basis, level, or criteria you live by each and every day, which honors and is congruent with the real you inside. Standards come from the inside out. Setting higher standards for your daily life will fulfill you. My eureka moment made so much room for me in my life, my relationships, my business, and in forging a new career. In that moment, I was reborn, and I knew my gift. What I had written down in that moment was so different from anything that I had written down before because it gave me a new approach to life. After 18 years in business, goals weren't working for me. Here I was, a miserable failure in all areas of my life that mattered to me. My relationships, my health, my finances, and my peace of mind were only a few. Right there and then, I reviewed all that was dear to me. I intuitively knew that I had to set a new, higher set of standards for all areas because everything, large or small, affects everything else. I stood in my office, grabbed a pen and paper, and began to write out a new way of life. Below are some of the standards I set for myself in the beginning. I have since learned, refined, and added to the list. So here I'm going to share with you just a couple of the standards that he wrote down for himself after that guard left and after he had that aha moment where he no longer was willing to put up with less than, and he now knew that he needed to create that new set of standards. So here are some of his list. Work Monday through Thursday. Wednesday is a half a day. Take my children to school every morning and then go to the office. Pick up the children from school 4 days a week and stay home with them. Fridays and weekends are family and me days. Meetings with clients are held only in the office, and clients come and see me no matter where they are in the country. See clients only 2 days a week. Other work days are spent on other aspects of my business. All new clients must be millionaires at the minimum. All clients must be friendly, open, and good at heart people because I want to enjoy my time with them. It is, after all, my life. Other advisors and staff still comment on how congenial my clients are. Work in a peaceful, relaxing atmosphere. When I set this new standard, I cleared my office of papers and filing cabinets. Later, I organized my office into a relaxing and chilled meeting room with music, quality chocolates, cookies, bone china, and comfortable sofas for my clients. I was the first in the building to adopt this approach of creating a quality client experience. Since then, many brokers in the company branch network have followed suit. Include some form of exercise in my day, whether the gym or karate. Associate exclusively with people who empower me and who positively affect my growth and journey. I quickly broke rapport with those who didn't honor me. I also let go of some friends and acquaintances who were taking me in the wrong direction. I kept my thoughts on things I wanted and off of the things I didn't want or shouldn't want, because where your attention goes, energy flows. Control my environment to and from work by playing motivational, educational, and inspirational and empowering music and audio in my car. Don't watch the news or read negative media. I only take in positive messages from media that I can filter or choose. He then ends this section by saying, standards made an immediate impact on my personal happiness, my health, my relationships, and my business results. The next day, I created and laminated a color-coded timetable that showed the standards for the new husband and daddy I now was. I gave a copy to each of my children and Jerry and stuck a copy on the refrigerator when I got home that night. In those moments when I let my old way of life fall away, my true self let my new life and the real me fill the void. I had been in pain so long, yet the answers to my true life joy were short. As I kept to those standards, they continued to make room for me and let my true self direct me. Over and over again, I'm guided to take this or that path based on my intuition. I pay attention and take the guidance that's on board. The guidance is, after all, coming from the best part of me. I believe that the key idea to come from all of this and setting a new set of standards is because the old ones weren't working for me. They weren't from me, and I had blindly adopted them. My true self knew this, and that's why it took me there first. I didn't even know where my old standards came from in my life. End quote. I hope that hearing this brief section of this book had as big of an impact on you as it did on me. All it takes is a second, a moment for you to realize what you're doing isn't working. And part of that is just looking at what you have and reflecting on what you have right now. What you have right now is nothing more than your past thoughts and actions realized. The standards that you currently have are giving you the life that you are in right now. So now is your time to continue to create your new set of standards that are going to give you the life that you truly want, that dream life. What does that dream life look like? You may, if you journaled on it last week, you may want to dig that journal out and look at it and say, wow, like, what does my life look like today? What standards have I had in place, or lack of standards, and what standards do I really want to implement now? So give yourself permission this week to grab your journal and look at the results of your life. Look at your personal health and your fitness. Look at your environment, the internal and external environment. Look at your family. Look at your relationships. Look at your mindset. Look at your emotions. Look at your spiritual practice. Look at your career or your business. Look at the way you spend your time. Look at the way you spend your money. Look at your home. Is it cluttered? Is it not? Do you have a set of trusted advisors that help you raise that bar for you, that help you raise your standards? I would encourage you to continue to work on your list and to test out your new set of standards, making sure that they are in alignment with your true priorities and the lifestyle that you are ready to begin living. Remember, the 1 degree shift is all about taking one tiny action, a little 1 degree shift every day. One small shift in the direction that you want to go into will give you your dream life by default, but you have to take action. I would love to support you in this. If you are not part of the 1 degree shift tribe, click the link in the show notes, join us. Jump in as a VIP if you want instant access to even more coaching and even more support in our VIP lounge. I would love to support you. This work is life-changing. I hope to see you in there. I hope that this episode has served you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. The links mentioned in today's podcast episode are in the show notes.